can use retirement to offset or add some sweetener or whatever to a particular proposal, even if that proposal is dealing with non-retirement assets. So say, for instance, you've got a home and the home has $500,000 in equity. And ordinarily what you would do if you're going to keep the home is you just pay the other side their half of that equity, $250,000. What they might propose is, hey, instead of me paying you that $250,000 in cash, why don't you take extra retirement money? And that could be fine depending on the parties and what their goals are. Or for instance, if the retirement is already at a payout status and the parties are kind of old enough to not have to worry about like the 10% penalty for early withdrawal, that may be okay, but you still have the issue of the tax question. Because if you want to use any of those funds that get transferred over from the retirement account, for instance, to buy a new house, because you just got bought out of the house that you were living in, right? So maybe you need some money for a down payment. If you just get $250,000 in retirement dollars, it's not worth the same as if you got a check for $250,000, right? Because that also tax-free transaction, anything that happens in a property division in a family law case is tax-free. There's no tax consequences to that, with that one exception for retirement. So if they've got a check for $250,000, just gets deposited and they can spend $250,000. If they're taking the money out of extra retirement that they got instead of cash, they're going to pay taxes on that retirement withdrawal, and sometimes they're going to have to pay a penalty too if it's an early withdrawal, if it's already not in pay status, which means $250,000 isn't worth $250,000. It's worth $250,000 minus 40%-ish of the tax and the penalty. So that makes that a kind of transaction unappealing. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but typically what we're going to do is we're going to gross up the amount of retirement that is replacing the liquid cash payment. So we've got to make it worth $250,000, which means to get there, you've got to pay some amount north of $250,000 so that if the person that's receiving the money, if they decided to withdraw it all, they have, at the end of the day, after taxes are paid, $250,000. So on the other side, on the retirement person side, where they're saying, I'll give you more retirement, that can make that situation unappealing because maybe now all of their retirement is gone to pay for the house. So there are ways to kind of work with a partial retirement payment, or if there's just a ton of retirement and not a huge amount of an equalizing payment that's got to be made to equalize the property division overall, it can still work, but it's an issue, and people struggle, including attorneys, with how we gross up the amount of retirement.